like Smash, like I really like playing Smash and everything. I just remember she talked about Smash. And I was like,
that sounds like
that sounds just like me.
I was like, all right, Welcome to another episode of the Soju Bomb podcast. I am joined today by Kim of SENPAI Squad,
Hello,
Marvin
guys.
Square Noodles, Young James, and of course myself, Anthony ORQUE. Yeah, guys. So welcome to another episode on this lovely
Tuesday night.
Sorry, I was like buffering.
Tuesday.
Buffering. Yeah, dude. Damn, fucking Tuesday night. Sunny Las Vegas. 108 degrees out. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I need more ice for my drink actually to cool down. But yeah. Anyways, how you guys doing? Good.
We're doing good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we had a meal, ran some errands, did some stuff. Now we're back at it.
Back at it.
Yeah, back
Seriously.
at it.
I mean, you're
with
only
another
here for
podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, which is great because I know obviously we're not together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good stuff. So anyways, today is a very, very, very special episode because we have a special guest. And I keep bugging these guys to like cue it up, but I want to say a couple personal words and then I'll do the introduction.
Yeah.
So this person right here, very special, holds a very special place in my heart because last year, because we met last year, and when I met this person, they actually came to my event. We're a very, very, very important part of the event. It was the link up over at the Caesars.
Mm-hmm.
And they pretty much, her and a group of friends, as well as, of course, Marvin Square Noodles, came in clutch and really made that event special. So special, in fact, that literally the social media people over at Caesars like have like cross counter like on speed dial for any esports related like stuff. So whether it comes to like consulting or anything like that, I don't know if she knew that or not, but it was thanks to her and her great contribution to the event. Yeah, I don't really know what to say because like she's literally she's a very influential person within the cosplay community as well as the esports community. Yeah, I'm pretty much just a really, really cool person. She's super humble, super like, I remember when she was starting like her podcast and everything, she actually hit me up. She was like, hey, can you give me advice? I'm like, what? Like, no, you're you. Like, you have more experience in broadcasting than I do. No, you don't need nothing. So yeah, she has a Twitch channel. She's a very influential cosplayer. She's all over social media. So again, can we please give a warm round of applause for Miss Annjelife?
Welcome.
All right, reveal.
Finally,
you so
welcome.
much. Thank you.
It's been a
Wow,
long
what like
time
a
coming.
luscious and like warming intro. I've
yes.
never been spoken about that way.
Nice, and that's without the alcohol too. Nice. So how you doing, Annje?
I'm doing wonderful,
Yeah.
guys. This has been a crazy past 2 months. Can I just say?
Yeah, please fill us in on what the last 2 months has looked like. For
Oh,
us. What's
yeah.
going down?
I was living in California just a little while ago.
Yeah.
And in the past 2 months, I made the spontaneous decision, thanks to Marvin Square Noodles.
Another one.
Another one.
I was looking for a new place to go to start over, and he was like, you should come over to Nevada. And I was like, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
So I made the
nice.
jump, and guys, I'm really glad I did.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
I know,
it's
that's
a
great.
recurring theme.
It really is. Like literally the last 2 episodes too. They said the same exact thing. Like, I just followed Marvin's path. We call it the Great Square Noodles pilgrimage. It's literally he's like I can imagine him in like a wagon and like all the models.
It'll be like a section in our history books for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, dude, I'm so happy that all of you guys like are here now. So it's like,
it's great.
like again, like we'll be, excited to just develop like a network here that'll just like set certain foundations for certain things.
For sure.
Yeah.
Y'all,
I'm dropping hints.
I know exactly. Being the Vegas local, for sure. Like even for me, like I can see big things potentially happen. Like even now, just in the last month, these guys have been here. It's been unbelievable, honestly. Just the amount of synergy that everyone has is like great.
I agree. I feel like in the next like 3 or 5 years, it's going to become like the new LA.
Ooh,
like I've heard
let's go,
news
baby.
that like offline
Let's
TV
go.
It's so
wants to
crazy because I was just saying
man.
that earlier today.
Yeah.
Twins.
So we have this joke that
Yeah.
Marvin and I are just like on the same path, like frequency.
Damn.
Just in
Same Wi-Fi.
everything.
Yeah.
Honestly, we are. Like when I walked into his house for the first time, I'm like, Marvin, we have all the same furniture. We have all the same everything.
theme. Yeah.
Today we're ordering boba, got the same flavor.
Nice. I like that.
So yeah, it's
that's-
great. It's freaking weird, dude. Like she got her own house. I got my own house. She got her own car. I got my own car.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just weird. I was like, what the heck? It's like in Matrix. It's like they have the same codes.
Just copy paste.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So kind of getting warmed up into the podcast. If it's cool with you guys, I kind of want to talk about like our origin stories with meeting Annje.
Dude.
And then I'll kind of let you take on like your Batman Begins origin story. So, all right, who wants to go first? How did y'all meet Annje?
I would start at this table like with Marvin because I feel like he started like my cosplay journey for sure because we were like the first model and photographer to like start working together before his whole Patreon adventure. So I don't know if you want to say your side of it.
Yeah. The way I knew Annje, it was super kind of well, no, because we met through Justin, right?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
we were like shooting, and then you were like we're all just hanging out, and then I'm a photographer, and then she's just like this really nice, like sweet model, right? And then one day after that whole hangout, it was you had like an SOS. I'm like, oh my god, my photographer kind of bailed out on me.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, is there anyone like down to like shoot right away? And at this point, I was hanging out with Minji, right? Yeah. Nice. And then you're like, hey, my photographer didn't show, and I was like, oh, like I'm free, right? Yeah. I was hanging out with Minji, but you were all like calling for help. So I'm just like, at that point, we were already hanging out for quite some time. So I was just like, okay, I'm just going to use this as like an excuse to just like end it early. Yeah. And then the moment that happened, I was just like on our way to her. Like it was like an hour and a half drive. Yeah. And then
I was living out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Guys, like middle of nowhere. Yeah. And here I was sitting in my Virgin Killer sweater because that was during the time that was new. It was brand new. Like it was this new thing. And then I was like, I got to shoot this right now. So I got all dressed up. And then my photographer wasn't like 1 hour, but 2 hours late. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to SOS right now in this Facebook group chat that we had. And he came to my rescue, and that was my first time shooting with you ever.
Right. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
And we've only hanged out one time prior to that, but at that point it was like it was weird because I was just starting out. Yeah. And I was only like I had Annje. Oh no, not Annje. I had Megan to just like shoot. Megan Yee. Yeah. So she was like, but then I've only started doing kind of like lewd stuff. Like starting out, and I didn't have like any major portfolio or anything
at the time.
But so I went to Annje, we shot, and it's like these are really good, Wow. These could be used for prints. These are good. Yeah. Wow. These could be used for prints,
Yeah.
Have you seen his work before?
No. Honestly, I didn't. I was just like, I was willing to take like anyone. Yeah. Wow. And at this point, I was only doing cosplay for fun. Like I wasn't doing it for money. I wasn't doing it for fame or anything like that. Yeah. So I was just like, I want to do this today.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It was kind of like fate all coming together. And then someone messaged me literally the next day when our post blew up overnight. Yeah. Our VK sweater post blew up. And then,
of course, why wouldn't it? Yeah.
And then someone messaged me, they're like, do you sell this? And I've never entertained that idea until I was like, Marvin, I guess we should start selling it. Yeah. And so we had to figure out together how to start doing that.
Wow. Okay. So that's literally like, so Annje was actually like the very, very first girl that I had entertained the idea of actually building together and starting a partnership together. Yeah. And then, like I met Miso and Alyssa like a week later or after like WonderCon. And then that's when it was just like, oh, they want to do this too. And like, I'm just going to go ahead and like have 3 girls that we're just all going to build all together. Wow. And that was that's cool. Back then it was like the Loodles, right?
That's what we called ourselves. It was cute.
Yeah.
That's
like
crazy.
Square Loodles. Yeah. Instead of Square Noodles, Square Loodles. Yeah.
Dang. That's crazy how that was kind of your start. Cause I always wondered like what instigated like all the different things for you to like progress to those ideas, whether it was you like working with like a group of models or like even starting prints, right? Because at the time, like for me at least back like the only place that I know people sell like prints was like at cons and stuff. But like it was a foreign concept knowing that was something that people just did. So it's interesting that you guys say like that's how that started.
I love how you bring that up because it was the only place you could get prints. So I remember working at my retail job on my laptop, like trying to set up a print store like, in the break room. That's how I was like working my cosplay life behind the scenes.
Holy crap. That's so funny.
I'd be like at a Starbucks or something, like working on my print store.
What was just curious question for Annje? What was Marvin like back in the day when like because this is earlier days.
So
you know. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be honest, he's almost exactly the same in terms of like personality. He's like, really? I feel
I
like
was an asshole back then. I'm sorry.
Like energy or like
I had my rough patches too. I feel like we would hit a lot of frustrations because we're discovering what worked and what didn't work. And so we didn't have an idea of what to do yet. We were pioneering into like new territory, new ventures. Definitely. So I feel like once we got over that hurdle though, like it was chilling.
It was interesting. It was a whole lot of like figuring out, like we just didn't see each other eye to eye. Right. But it was one of those things where I was also young. This was like 3.5, 4 years ago.
Wow. It was that long
so
ago.
just like 4 years is a long time. Like that's a lot of learning and growing, right? So I feel like the same. I mean, I don't know. This is your question, but just I guess like same like business mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
But more mature for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's kind of what I meant when I was saying you're kind of the same, because I feel like your philosophies like was the ground roots, was kind of what grounded everything that you're doing right now. It was the foundation, and that's always been the same ever since you started. So
hey, that's great.
Sorry,
that's
I didn't mean to like interrupt. Like,
no, that's great. That's super dope. Because again, like me, because I knew him before Square Noodles, but I didn't really see like the progression, you know what I mean? So the fact that like you were there for a very pivotal time for Marvin, I'm like, damn, that's so cool to hear. Today is just learning a lot about Marvin.
We would sign prints like on his like bedroom floor, and now we like do it in our own houses and stuff, which is cool. So maybe that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's coming up for sure. Shit, nice.
Yeah, humble beginnings. Holy crud!
I know. All right, let's see. I guess I can share my story. Of how I met Annje, because it was under like business professional like setting, right? Because I brought you guys out for the link up. And so short story, which is the project that I was in charge of, like it was literally my first real cross counter like project. Because everything else, like, you know, I was just kind of helping Ryan out, right? Shout out Gutek, shout out PogChamp. It was the first time I was involved in a project from like literally start to finish, from contract negotiation to day, like, you know, everything ended. So that being my baby, right? One of the ideas that was brought up was like, what if we come like, because we're trying to figure out a way to activate the space at the link because it wasn't used at all. Literally what like, I think I'm okay to say this now. But literally, kind of, because Caesars was telling us that space was barely used. Like he said, it was really only used during like football season.
Wow.
Outside of that, like you're like, like they had the video game console. So imagine this, right? It's this. You guys remember the setup, right? It was the big columns.
It was like a pillar.
It was like a huge pillar with the monitors and everything.
Right.
Yeah. So the thing is, they said that they're like they wanted to appeal to the gaming audience, but they didn't know how. And that's when our friend Bianca, shout out Bianca at Caesars, she actually called up Ryan Gutex and was like, hey. I know you guys are busy, but we were wondering if you'd be down to take a meeting with us. We have a couple ideas we want to bounce off you. Nice. And so initially they wanted to bring him on to do just like a regular like fighting game tournament. Right. And then they're like, yeah, cool. Like, can we bring you on that? We'll pay you this amount to do it like X amount of weeks up until like this event. And it originally started off actually as a Madden event. So they wanted to do like, I think it was like a 10-week series of Madden tournaments up until football season. So they would do like the grand finale on kickoff day.
Gotcha.
And then me and Ryan went up and we're like, we don't know shit about Madden. But sure, whatever it is. I mean, we can find the people, whatever, right? And they're like, well, what do you guys specialize in? And so then we're like, just look up this on YouTube, that on Twitch and stuff. And they're like, oh shit, you guys know a lot. We're like, I guess. So they're like, yeah, so if we show you the space, you think you could do something cool with it?
Oh, fun.
And then we took like the tour and we saw it. We're like, I'm sorry, like y'all
Potential.
don't know what to do with this. I'm like, bro, I come from the streets. Like, if I had this dude, like I've had to do events at parks and fucking parking lots. You know what I mean? Like, dog, like I can't. I was like, so you telling me you don't know what to do with this space?
Yeah.
And supposedly like the dude that designed it, he designed it to be like the ultimate man cave. Supposedly.
Oh.
And they spent some stupid freaking number that I don't want to say. It was 7 figures to design that man cave, right? And they didn't know what the fuck to do with it. It was losing them hella money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I don't think I've told any of you guys this.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, going back to like the negotiation, right? They're like, "Can you think of something to do?" Right?
Yeah.
And Gutex and one of the partners, Jesse. Was like, oh, why don't we do like a mixed thing, right? And they're like, what? Because we asked them what would make the needle move, like what would make this a dope event. And they're like, honestly, just fill this fucking thing. And we're like, that's it. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, how many people like have occupied this space? They're like, honestly, the most probably like 50 people.
Wow.
And I was like,
and that was a huge
people.
Yeah, well, that's a huge place too.
Yeah, it's ginormous.
So then and that was the thing. Like that was what they wanted to try to achieve, but all their creative people didn't know what to do.
Oh wow.
And
well,
so,
good thing they had you.
Yeah. So they hit us up and Jesse was like, yo, like what if we do like a mixed like exhibition, like just exhibition matches for like certain games, as well as like maybe like a cosplay competition and then just like just cool stuff for us to broadcast. And the dating show came into play. So anyways, with all that said, I was like, all right, cool. I guess I got to fill this place with cosplayers and get people to want to come. And that was when I hit up Marvin.
Yeah.
And Marvin at the time, actually, ironically, around the time we were in those talks, he was actually here in Vegas. So they were staying at the Rio. And so I was like, maybe it's meant to be. I don't know. But I was like, yo, let me come up to you. Went up to his suite. He was drinking like 5 cases of soju with like his homies and everything. He's like, here, take a bottle. So he and I were like drinking shit. He was like, he had his like arm around me. We were just like sitting and shit. And I was like trying to talk serious. Yeah. And I was like, all right, bro, I think I got something. And so my pitch was like, dude, if we do this for Caesars, like they're going to hit us up for anything they need, anything related to like anime, cosplay, video games. Yeah. You down? And he was like, not only am I down, he's like, I'm going to bring you like 6 or 7 girls. And I was like, word? I was like, wait, what? You can do that? I didn't know that was possible. And he was like, yeah. He's like, and on top of that, he's like, you need a photographer? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'll be your photographer. And I was like, no, that. I was like, what? No, stop, man. He was like, I'm gonna buy this new lens. And I was like, no, don't. And he was like, bro, I'm about to spend $600. Watch. And he literally fucking buys it. I'm like, oh my god.
So it was like an event lens. So I wanted to try it out.
It was so sick, right? So
I like remember that day that he hit us all up at the same time because we have this group chat called Cool Cats.
Yeah.
Called the Cool Cats Club. And then he was just like, guys, I have something for all of you. And then all like 7 of us girls were like, where are you?
That's crazy.
So cool.
I remember he told me that like a few hours after too.
Yeah.
So for me, again, I was just like, that was like a huge weight off my shoulder because that was like one of the biggest obligations. And honestly, one of the things that the Caesars was really interested in seeing because they'd never done anything like that before. Right. Nothing on the strip had ever attempted something to that caliber. So, how Annje and I met.
There's a whole backstory.
Yeah, sorry. Just for context sake, I know that was like full Batman Begins type shit.
I think it was in the hotel.
It was in the hotel room.
It was Missy's birthday.
Was I there too?
You ended up coming through afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So
was your hair like silver at that time?
Yes.
I love it. Like almost like there.
No, you did end up showing up because I remember like Marvin was putting the shout out because that was when I checked you guys into the room. Yeah, I remember because all you guys carpooled from Cali. True. And then you're like, bro, I'm here. And I was like, shit, I'm not there yet. So I dashed from Mandalay Bay to the link to check you guys in. And then we checked you guys in. And I remember walking into the door. Missy was on the bed, like derping around. Yeah, Marvin was the one that greeted me, and I think like you guys were like off to the side or in the bathroom or something. So I come in, I was like, oh dang, like this is the lair right here. This is where all the cool people are, right? And I was like, I think this is where I want to be. Like I want to hang out here, right? And mind you, I was fucking dead ass exhausted. That was like what day 0, day 1. Yeah. I was already exhausted. I think I was up like 4 days straight already at that time.
Dang,
and nuts. So one of the things, so common theme between myself and Marvin, we go to the same shit, but we never see each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's like a second. That's
yeah,
it.
like literally, hi, bye.
Yeah.
Or like, here's this bottle, hi, bye. So,
oh man,
you know, obviously any chance I have to hang out with Marvin is like fucking phenomenal. And the fact that like he had people, you know, there too, I was like, shit, I guess I'll like make new friends, right?
Yeah.
So I went there for the sole purpose of like giving everyone like the breakdown of how everything was working, right? So like, this is the event, we're planning it right now, come at me with questions, bro.
Right.
And so I opened the floor, everyone started asking, and then I remember Annje was in the back because I remember I was with Colette. You and Colette were like towards the back. Allie was like kind of on the second bed, and then Lizzie was like right there. Yeah. And Marvin's like right next to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone just came at me with questions and stuff. And I remember immediately after that, the whole meeting, I was like, I got up and then Annje came straight to me. Yeah. She's like, yo, like, like Smash, like I really like playing Smash and everything. I just remember she talked about Smash. And I was like,
that sounds like
that sounds just like me.
And I was like, all right, cool, yeah, I guess she gets down with Smash. Shit, you know what I mean? And I was like, fuck, like, listen, because I just, again, at that time, like I was just really focused on making sure like they were taken care of, right? Yeah. Again, everyone was doing me this huge favor just by gracing me with their presence. So my biggest thing was making sure everyone was like accommodated. So I told Marvin, I was like, Marvin, let me know what you want. Like I'll buy you alcohol, whatever. Yeah. The room's all good. Like just make sure everyone's comfy. But I think that was the very first time you and I spoke. We just talked about Smash.
Yes, let's go. That's how all my friendships start.
Pretty much.
That's how all my friendships start, honestly.
Yeah. Sorry that was long-winded, but I wanted to cue that up because of how like profound, like I guess like our relationship is. Yeah. Because like again, I just saw it as like you guys were doing me the favor. Yeah. And I wanted to obviously take the time to like, you know, get to know everybody. Yeah. So yeah, and that was the start. And then after that, just whenever Marvin showed up and brought the homies, she was there.
That's so great. Yeah.
And that's kind of like how our friendship kind of started. It's all founded on like esports and our love for video games. So now I feel like we talk about esports industry every time we see each other.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's all we talk about right now, which is that's fine with me. Yeah. That's my auto setting. That's my default.
Yeah, so. No, it's great. It's like, it's nice to kind of see like people get together based on network, you know? Just like back then it's like, I didn't know that person and I only knew that person because of this person.
Pretty much.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's
like
how networking right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Everyone together and then you can create dope shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now we're all here.
Just a snowball.
You know? Exactly.
That's so true.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that first interaction? Well, first of all, I hadn't mentioned any of that before.
Yeah.
So like, what's your take on that and how?
I'm actually surprised that I came at you with so much energy. At least from what you remember, because that morning, Marvin and I had a really hard workout that morning, and we had the Sailor Neptune and Uranus photo shoot like right after that.
Oh, that's
so
true.
I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
So the fact that I came up to you, blah blah, smash. I'm surprised that I was like on 10% battery. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was me chilling out.
Good times, dude. That was literally 1 year ago.
Wow.
It's been here. I'm getting all the memories from Link Up like the last couple weeks.
Right. Oh, so
that's crazy.
It's
it's around Evo.
So fast. Holy crap.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah. So that's my story with Annje.
Yeah.
So
and now we're back here in Vegas. So it comes full circle.
It's full circle,
you know?
right?
Literally here in Vegas.
Like
there's not much for me. There's not much for me to add since it was the same. I was right there.
Yeah. So for story's sake, so as soon as I was leaving, Kim comes in, and then everyone got down in the room, and we're all like, everyone was having a good time, drinks and stuff.
Yeah. I felt like our first real interaction was at the Red Bull after party.
Yeah.
That's can I tell this story?
I don't know what story. I'm always drunk. Okay.
So after the whole link up thing, after all of that, there was an Evo after party at the esports arena inside the Luxor, and I was hanging out with Hungry Box, Void, Nairo, a few Smash Pro players, and we were by the bar just trying to like hang out. You know, we're introducing ourselves.
It's the bar.
Yes.
All great stories involve the bar.
Kim comes around And I'm just like, oh, dude, these are all my friends. And you're like, oh, you're friends with Annje? Let's get shots for everyone. And then he bought like 10 shots on the spot. And we're just like,
that sounds like Kim.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Kim, what do you remember from that?
So now that you mentioned that, I'm getting flashbacks. And I feel like now that like you're saying this was not my first time. Or did I buy you guys more shots?
I think you gave us like 2 rounds, and that was it.
Yeah.
We after that.
Okay. I think because like I think now I remember. You guys are so hyped.
Yeah.
I think I just
you were just like,
buy more.
You guys are hyped. I'm hyped too.
I didn't know many people were there. I was just like, all right, everyone's like having a good time. You know, everyone knows each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the road, so I was like, shots for you, shots for you.
Fucking Oprah moment.
It was so lit. Allie was like twerking and stuff. I have videos. It was great. It was so memorable.
Yeah, dude, it's like you're just dancing and you're just like, Marvin, Chuck. He's dancing, he's giving me drinks. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Can we hear me chewing the boba?
Absolutely. It's what they want. It's what the people want.
Yeah.
So if it's not you, it's gonna be me. I'm gonna be like straight up ASMR this. I think I'm gonna edit into like this like cool filter too to make it like
some cosplayers have gotten into ASMR recently, and I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, guys. Boba ASMR.
Yeah. Before anything, thank you so much, Tina, for the
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina. Appreciate you. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool beans. So where we left off, we were talking about how we met Annje. I kind of want to give her the opportunity now to talk a little bit about like kind of like her past and like upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a common theme lately with the episodes where we want people to learn a little bit more about like what it takes to become like an Annjelife.
Mm-hmm.
So share away anything. Yeah. How do you want to like introduce that or like share?
Maybe let me go and like start you off, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been cosplaying, and like how early did you start?
Yeah, so I've been cosplaying for fun since I was like a teenager, but I only started like professionally doing it when we started Patreon, which was October 2017.
Dang, you remember it?
Yeah,
oh,
I have an anniversary, our anniversary. I put it on the calendar that we released.
I don't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
See, that's the problem with me. Like, I don't keep track with anything. So like, I'm happy that people remember it. So I'm just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin's
I'm
just
happy
there.
that you're like, documenting things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yep.
So 3 years now, or two and a half, a little over 2.5 years.
You
now.
said teenager. When exactly?
Yeah, I started cosplaying for fun, maybe like my last year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I went to my first con, which was Anime Expo. So
whoa,
you went in the deep end.
Exactly. Dude, you jumped head first into the pool.
I feel like I ruined like all other cons for myself after that because everything else is smaller.
Of course,
Like,
absolutely.
it's not as big.
Yeah.
Whoa. So how did you hear about AX? Did you know about it before? Like how?
No, I didn't at all. So I used to enter like my high school Halloween contest, and I would win like every year.
Whoa.
And like I would take that as like a pride point, right? So I was like, my last year, I want to like make this costume really cool and awesome. So I decided to cosplay Korra from Legend of Korra.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Nice.
And like that costume didn't like exist on the internet yet. So I was like,
So
I
you
want to
were-
be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I like had to research online like how to do it and like how to sew. Like I didn't know how to sew.
Yeah.
So once I made that, I was like, I gotta take this somewhere else. Like, you know, what's a good place? And then my friends are like, you should go to like a convention. And so that's how I heard.
All right, I guess I'll go to that. I'll take one of those conventions, please.
The biggest and baddest one.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't realize that conventions like are another level of cosplay.
That Halloween party. You say, hey,
I
no
love
Halloween party.
I walk in with like my hot glued outfit. No, these people had like stilts and like they were, had smoke coming out of their shoulders, and that's when I like fell in love with it.
So what was that like for like a rookie Annje to see for the first time?
Oh my god, I was obsessed. Like I would after Anime Expo, I would like hurry up and do my homework just so I could watch YouTube videos of like those compilations.
Really?
Where people, at cons would make like videos of
Cosplay
people's
Highlights.
These are your videos.
I would watch Sneaky Zebra, Eccleston, and all those people. So that was my lifeblood afterwards.
Wow. Dang, that's
crazy.
freaking crazy, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I was like, I gotta keep going to these. I gotta make something cooler next time.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I haven't stopped since then.
Dang, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I never thought of like doing it professionally. That feel like it happened on accident. I feel like that kind of happened on accident.
You want to share that story? I'm genuinely curious because I know, because you mentioned that Marvin was a part of like kind of like your start to seeing like the light. Yeah. But like, what kind of inspired you to start doing like it more so professionally?
Yeah.
It's weird because I originally wanted to become an animator. Like I went to private art school with like a lot of drawing. So I just did a lot of art and I wanted to do that because my older sister works for Disney. So I wanted to work for Disney too.
That's sick.
So I went to Art Center, College of Design in Pasadena.
Nice.
And I learned very quickly that I didn't like it.
What did you like about it?
I'm like an extremely extroverted person. So to animate like 12 hours a day in a box by yourself, I like grew to hate it.
Yeah.
Dang.
No interaction with anyone. Yeah, that's
when you went to the convention, it's like, this is all you.
It's totally. I found my people.
So I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I stopped doing that. And my parents were like, you gotta work at least. If you're not gonna go to school, you gotta work. So all I knew how to do was makeup at the time. So I was like, okay, I'll study to be like a makeup artist.
Nice.
So I worked for like Lancome, Bare Minerals. I worked for like all those other companies, Dior.
Well, yeah.
Dang. Nice.
And I would do like makeup on people. Wow. But at the same time, I would like go home and like work on my costumes. And that's like what I really loved doing.
Right. I remember that. Yeah, you still had makeup side job. Yeah. And then while we were doing Patreon.
Yes. While I was working in the makeup industry, I like started doing Patreon with Marvin. And then once that like started to level with my day job, I was able to quit that. And then continue to cosplay full time.
Wow. Question. When did you feel like it was time to go? Like what made you realize like I'm confident in letting go of my full-time job or part-time job?
When it made the same amount. I think that's when I was like, okay, my Patreon makes the same amount as my day job. I can like leave this
and
now.
then put more time into your Patreon.
Yes.
Bam.
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
I had this one distinct moment where like I made that decision when I went to the bathroom and I was like responding to Instagram posts, like Instagram comments.
Yeah.
Because
engagements.
I was doing engagements and like I was like, what am I doing? Like I like hate what I'm working as, and I love doing this. Like clearly, I should just do this all the time.
Wow. You were working on top of working.
That's crazy. In the bathroom, though, like having that honestly, that's a great place.
That's a great.
I'm sure many life-changing ideas happen in the bathroom.
Sitting down in the bathroom.
Makes you amazing.
No one would bother me there, and I would just work on cosplay engagements.
Dang. So obviously, I guess I kind of want to get into the community a little bit. So then, obviously, you know, even for me too, like I find out, I make most of my community friends kind of hanging out with these guys. So how was it for you kind of being like the newbie in the scene, like kind of making friends or like trying to find people that like, was there any cosplayers that you tried to aspire to be like, or like anyone you look up to?
Yeah, I've always looked up to like the big names like Yaya Han, Jessica Nigri, but I credit my entire brand and inspiration from this cosplaying couple named Aikosu. And that's Sheila Santa Maria and Skylar Warren. Okay. And basically they like helped me on Tumblr days figure out how to make costumes. Wow. Yeah, like back in the day when cosplay was only on like Tumblr and DeviantArt. That's like I would go to them with my questions all the time, and like Sheila would just help me with that. Yeah.
How do you spell their costume?
Yeah, let's shout them out. Yeah.
AICOSU.
Okay. I'm gonna try to look.
Aikosu Cosplay, and they're great. So I've always aspired to be like them.
Oh, that's goals right there.
And then when I got to go to Anime Expo, that's when I got to meet them for the first time, and they like signed this thing I printed out from my printer, like because I don't have prints yet or anything. Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
That's actually, it's funny because that's actually like a really, really bad practice, right? But at that time, I guess like they weren't selling prints. So it was just something for you to like print, right? Because so it's one of the, like, I wanted to bring out something where, you know, when people say don't meet your heroes, like you met them, how were they, and how was that for you?
Oh my god, they're amazing, and like to this day I still talk to Skylar. So
oh nice.
So they're fantastic, and I feel like they really stuck by this idea that you should cosplay what you're passionate about, not just because like whatever's popular. And so I've always tried to like have that balance.
That's good.
Yeah, that's actually a good lesson for sure. Because a lot of people kind of go like full in on something that they don't really like. Especially like I feel like new people do that, right? Like or either they try to like go full in, not knowing like what to expect, and it kind of messes their perception of like what their goals are, like not really aligning to what they want.
Right.
So, man, this is it's a lot to take in because I never knew like any of your origin story before.
Yeah.
So I've genuinely been curious, like what motivated you like in the very beginning, and do you feel like those have your initial motivations or goals like have you met them? Are they like things that you still keep in mind? Like what do you aspire to be as a cosplayer? Essentially, that's what I'm asking.
Right. I always thought I was going to become like a crafter and kind of what Kinpatsu and Kamui is doing.
Okay.
But then I kind of found along the way that my biggest strength was personality. Ooh. So I feel like now I'm trying to find different avenues to like showcase that. Like Twitch streaming has been a really great way to show off personality.
Shout out Twitch.
Or being on a podcast like this.
Nice.
So that's kind of a goal that I found halfway through the journey. And now I feel like I want to start optimizing that.
I actually like want to know, like, you know, you wanted to be an animator, and then I guess the idea of like being a professional cosplayer, or rather like making money off cosplay, right? It's like was such a like coming from left field, right? Like you didn't know like you were gonna be it. So like how, like from your beginning, how did your kind of goal starts transpiring, and like how did you cultivate that? So like for viewers who are just like watching, like maybe they don't know what they're doing with their life right now, like what did you do to like start how did that transpire for you, or what did you do to cultivate that passion?
Right. So I think that what makes the cosplay community really different is like the connections that you make, because it's everybody is passionate about the show that they're watching, or the movie that they're cosplaying from, or the video game that they're cosplaying from. So I feel like if someone is just starting out and they're listening to this or they're watching this, then I feel like you should definitely value the people who are equally as passionate about the stuff as you are.
Absolutely.
Because that was the only way I was able to get to where I am now, is to like keep people like Marvin close, to keep people like you close, or keep people like my other cosplay friends close, because they're going to continue doing it as hard as I am for a very long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said you're very extroverted too, right? So like you would be able to like make that same journey. You guys are in the same road. And like just, it's not lonely.
Definitely. There's definitely like, as much as there are like, you know, hella different types of like cosplayers, because you have, you know, people that do it for fun, people like that do it for a living. There's a lot of like room to find people that are very like in a very similar position to you, and I feel like that's kind of the benefits to being involved in the community, which kind of I want to talk about next, because we were talking about this a little bit before the show, which is I guess I should preface it with this, which is the cosplay community is very unique.
It is.
Right?
I was gonna say toxic. I'm like,
and what I mean by unique is that there's, I mean, dude, they come from all subsections of the nerd fandom industry, right? Because you got like anime cosplayers, video games, you've got comic books, you've got like there's like furries, you've got like, you know what I mean? Like
it's crazy. Like cosplay community is like a giant like boiling pot of everything.
It
like
is.
Photography, costume maker, you know, makeup artist, fashion.
I would even say like engineering a little bit. Like now it's kind of going
like
to
with
that.
3D printing and stuff too.
Electrical, you know, everything. And it's like you have just different culture as well coming all together.
Whole bunch of different cultures for sure.
It's nuts. It's a very special in its own way.
So with that being said, with the community being what it is, like, and I guess I'll just throw this out for the table, but like, you know, each of us are, I would say, respected members of our each subsections of the community. So I guess I'll open it up to, I guess, bringing up the discussion of like what's the future of the community? Like where is it? What does it currently look like? Obviously right now it's not normal because of, you know, worldwide lockdown. But, you know, each of us, I'm sure, has our own opinions about like what could happen or what the community could do to grow, right? So
I actually want to direct this question to Annje, right? Because it's like Annje, out of all of us, I think one thing that is very unique in this table is Annje's actually a part of the gaming community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like none of us like not really involved in it. So I actually want to have you talk about that because it's like, it's such a foreign concept to me. And like, since you kind of are a person who's in cosplay and gaming community, like how is it different from cosplay, and like where do you see gaming community in like 5-7 years from now? Maybe?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you bring that up because I really want to be a part of this movement that brings the gaming community and the anime community like together.
That's cool.
Right? That would be so awesome. Like I've always had this vision that Evo or another big gaming company or event could be like Anime Expo. Because the biggest difference between the gaming community and the anime community is like this level of professionalism, I feel like. Like when people think of cosplay, they don't think of like, you know, high-end professional or like anything like that. They think of like, you know, hobbyists.
Very casual.
Right? So
bunch of little kids just running around.
Exactly. So how do we make that industrialized? How do we make that like taken seriously?
Right.
So
interesting.
I feel like in the next 3 or 5 years, if they were to come up with an idea to make it professional or like a certified way.
Like come up with certifications or like set a precedent, right?
Yes.
Because that's so being from Vegas, I've actually been looking into like how esports is going to get into like the sports betting scene. And that's like the biggest thing holding it back right now. At least to my knowledge, because I've spoken to guys at Caesars, Win, MGM, and they've literally said that, where they're like, it's too Wild West. You know what I mean? Like it's too like, we don't get it.
Lawless land.
Yeah, it's definitely lawless for sure. Because again, you have like so many different types of cosplay competitions. You have so many types of pageants.
That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have different standards. Like it's so vast, right? So, and I think when it comes to like trying to set like that standard, it's definitely got to be universal. For
it's
sure.
hard because
it is.
If you think of the biggest cosplay competition there is, which is Cosplay Summit.
Yes.
I couldn't even tell you the winners for the last 3 years if I tried.
Wow.
Like I can't even, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So how can companies take that seriously if the cosplayers themselves don't care about it?
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
So,
I've never thought about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Yeah.
Like there's not even like a ranking system for like who's the best cosplayer and who's like the 30th. You know what I mean?
Well, you would assume that like, and again, this is kind of like, if you think like normies or like non-nerd fandom industry folks, like they typically see like how professional someone is in the community based on like their following. You know what I mean? Like their social standing, social media wise. And it's interesting that you say that, because if the top cosplayers don't even know like who the best is, and that's kind of I consider all y'all like the top. I'm just like, dang, that's kind of crazy. So there definitely needs to be a shift in the conversation. I think the way to do it would be to get like similar to like the Olympics. Like the top cosplayers from each country need to just straight up have a summit. Like get together and minus the competition part. Need a goddamn sit down and be like their own TED talk, and be like, yo, like we gotta unite. You know what I mean? We gotta figure out like a standard. Because there's okay. So let me ask you this then. You've attended and judged cosplay competitions.
Yes, I have.
So my question to you is then like what is the judging system like with that? Because based on that, I think you can come up like you'll have somewhat of a template to be able to share universally. But what is that process like?
So being a judge, you usually judge on like 4 different criteria. One of them being like stage presence, because there's often a performance. Then comes craftsmanship, which is like obviously the build of the outfit. Third one is innovation, like how different did you think outside the box to create this? Or like what makes it unique? And then the last one is like, I feel like that the last one is kind of a wild card depending on what competition you're judging for.
Sure.
Right? But for like BlizzCon, they will do like relevancy or something that like is recognizable.
I see.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So,
and again, and as you say that, right? Like how do you measure that in terms of like legitimacy, right? Because a lot of it's very like it's based on taste or based on like very specific things. And that's hard to quantify. I think what needs to happen in order for like there to be like a universal thing is like some types of statistics somehow.
It's so hard too, because it's like cosplay is not just like a one-time thing. Like sure, you can go ahead and like you can't judge like a musical. Like you can't have like a talent show and like judge like jazz players versus a classical pianist. You know, like sure, you can go ahead and like judge them based on skill and all that. But like in the end, it's like, you know, when you're playing jazz, it's like you gotta come from the heart, you know, this and that, and the same thing. Like it's just a completely different thing. It's like cosplayers, like it would be like a nice, really, really flowing dress, and then suddenly like hop onto the next one, it's complete armor build. Like how do you judge that? So it's like
it's like they're both good in their own way. It's just like you can't just compare it, you know?
So like apples to oranges. Like that's what's so tough about it. And like I've never thought about the concept before of having like kind of like a universal like rating system. I understand the idea of that in order to be like, hey, if there's a really, really like best person in the world, then they kind of like deserve credit, and then we can use them as like a marketing tool. I'm like, hey, we have the best cosplayer in our booth. And I understand that concept, but man, like, where do you start? You know? It's like, it's so mind-boggling.
I wonder if they could have like different classes of like cosplay competitions or like armor focused.
They do.
How is it through a summit? I think more so like, how did they break that down? Like the category.
So whenever I judged for competitions, I would usually be specialized in ballroom. So like gowns and things like that. So because there are like armor divisions, and then there are like
that makes so much more sense.
Right? And then there's casual division, which is like, you know, whatever, the swimsuit skin, whatever. So that's kind of answers your question. But now what I'm thinking of is, how do people in the gaming industry make a video game player professional, right? They join an org. And so I'm like, what if cosplay had like organizations that companies could go to and be like, hey, do you have someone that could be this? And then they offer up, okay, here's your choices.
Are there agencies that do that type of work?
There aren't, which is why I'm like, why don't
I guess time to start one, guys.
Actually, that's true.
Like a cosplay org, right?
Because if you're a cosplay model, then you need to have like a cosplay agency to represent you.
Yes, exactly. And then that org gets you the sponsors or whatever.
Is this the start of something, guys? Is this another revenue stream?
It's like, I've never thought about that, because it's like the one thing that I could think of is like, for example, like Riot, right? Like one of my model, like Akemi, right? To just be like, hey, you know, Akemi, do you want to be this character for this event, right? And then they would just like reach out directly. But what if it's like you know, like the only reason why that is that, you know, Riot has someone who's a cosplayer that knows Akemi, so it's just like it's just a network. Like, oh, I know this person who's really good, right? But
shout out to Mel.
To Mel.
Shout out
to Mel. And then like great. In the end, it's like, but what if there's like what if there's no connection? Right? Like you need to have like a centralized kind of agency. To be like, oh, like, well, what, like, instead of just like a Vi or something, like you have so much more options. Like this is like, dude, that's nuts.
Right? Exactly. So if I'm Riot and I'm like, okay, we have to shop for cosplayers for our new campaign. Let's go to this org. And then I go, hey, Marvin, do you have someone that can fit these 3 characters? And you're like, here are my 3 specialists. You know what I mean? It's like made to order.
Shit.
It's like you're ordering
that makes
cosplayers.
It so much easy.
Exactly.
So much more easy.
So that's what I think can happen in the next 3 to 5 years, like bridging the community, because then they will become hand in hand, right?
Absolutely.
Gaming community will always need cosplayers and will always be ready with them.
You're creating the demand for the market.
But I mean, like, I know you're focused in like the gaming, but I feel like having just like a centralized agency for cosplayers, like it just opens up so much more, not just for gaming community, but for everything else. Like such like nerd culture is becoming such a relevant thing. Absolutely. That, you know, you have Uniqlo, you have like, you know, like clothing companies just having kind of anime merch, right? So like in the end, it's like, oh, hey, we need a cosplayer for this launch, right? Like Dragon Ball Z, right? Can we hire like a Goku cosplayer? And then they would just go to that agency. So it's like, it opens a whole lot of like doors for everyone.
It's just becoming more mainstream that like a lot of different like companies and stuff want to kind of dive into that, but they're not too sure where to reach out to, right? One organization then makes it easy.
One-stop shop.
Exactly.
Whoever's like listening to this, God, someone take advantage.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, why hasn't anyone done this yet?
But it's like the same thing. It's like if you're a cosplay model, you know, this is the same thing. It's like, if you're a model, there's an agency,
Yeah.
So like thus, like
that should have been there one for cosplay, right?
Right. And then I think that if you were to get into that agency, that's when you can start saying like, okay, I do this professionally, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not just a hobbyist.
Yeah.
I'm hired by these companies.
Yeah,
right?
It's not self-proclaimed. You have like a track record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's how they're going to evolve in the next couple years. But I would need an org like that to start.
All right, let's do it, guys. Shit. All right, podcast has been great, but we're gonna start this agency. Like, be right back in a couple years, okay?
It's like a cosplay esports org.
Yeah, it's like.
So on the flip side of that, right? Because I kind of want to get into the topic of like self-proclaimed professionalism, right?
Right.
Because at least my knowledge, because again, I'm not as deeply rooted in the community as you guys. I come from more of the industry side of things. But like, how important is like building your reputation in the community? Like, as a
it's everything.
Like, like how do you build your influence there?
Yeah,
it's everything, honestly. Because if you have a bad rep, or if you don't have an existing one, then how are you gonna get that connection that gets you hired? Right.
Good point.
I didn't call myself like a professional cosplayer until I was hired by Lab Zero.
Okay.
That was my first video game company where they're like, we have a game coming out. We want you to be this girl. You're going to pretend to be this girl. Basically like, you know, Disney princesses at the parks. Yeah. It was essentially that.
Interesting.
And then once that happened, it kickstarted getting hired by Bandai. And then after that was CLG.
Right. That's great.
So after I got hired by CLG, I was like, okay, I'm doing this professionally now, I guess.
There's like,
that's pretty much it. You're there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what's the, because again, a lot of what we're talking about when it comes to like the agency and stuff, like I know we're talking about like models and stuff, but what's going on in my head coming from like mainly the dance scene. So I don't know if I told you guys I used to dance in college.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For for one of the collegiate teams.
Like hip hop teams?
Yeah. So I think Jabberwockies and Kinjas.
Hey,
right?
Yeah.
So, and actually Kinjas talks about this on their podcast like quite a bit, but they talk about how, what would it take to consider dance as a sport? And there's so many different components to it, right? Like it's exactly some of the similar stuff that we're talking about, where they say like coming up with agencies, coming up with like a unified, universal like system or like rating system. So there are other like up and coming industries that are facing similar things to cosplay, and I think with how young cosplay is. Because really, like, obviously, cosplay has been around for forever. Yeah. But the sheer amount of people being able to make a living doing it is substantial now.
Yeah, it's exploded like the last 5-10 years.
Absolutely.
Oh no, last 5 years actually.
Yeah. So I think so after the break, I want to talk a little bit more about like kind of again elaborating more on bridging that gap and seeing like what we could do to like further develop that. Yeah. So all right. So jumping back into it, we were talking a little bit about the community and like how that's been cultivating and kind of the future of where it's going to go. And I think one area of or one thing of foresight we can look into with the cosplay community is their involvement in marketing with brands and companies. So I want to open this discussion up for the floor, which is how the hell do we make cosplayers and cosplay culture an essential part to brands, companies in their marketing strategies? Right? How like first of all, I don't even know any other podcasts or anyone else talking about this. So I think it's super important to know. Me coming from the industry side, because I do a lot of like biz dev type stuff. So figuring out different ways to get new engagements is always on the forefront of any marketer for most like esports orgs and stuff. But I kind of want to like call out Kim because he's probably at the forefront, I would say, of the entire industry, doing it right and doing it with the future in mind. And what I mean by that is he's doing it literally like grassroots, right? Him hitting up like, you know, certain cosplay friends or just not even just cosplay friends, but like just homies and stuff. Yeah. So, you know, obviously on the topic of helping build the cosplay community in terms of marketing, how would you say your mindset or your strategy goes into that with your brand?
Yeah, so I think like all the influencers are very good. Like having influencers are a very good asset on building a company or a brand, right? Because people do buy into like a sense of community or an image. Sure. So I always try and, I mean, for me, I'm lucky to be able to hang out with the same friends and influencers. So it was a little bit easy for me than probably other people. but I try and have the same people at my booth, so that way it's like easily recognizable and people will see the same faces. And just start building it from there. I believe like with cosplayers, they have the opportunity to market themselves very well, but I don't think they do, because a lot of the cosplayers and influencers, they come from like a fandom. I mean, like a hobbyist, right? So they have no knowledge about business. They don't see their value or self-worth. And I'm close to my friends and I'm seeing all their numbers and they're telling me all of this. I'm like, you can sell yourself
totally.
Exactly, right? You can make a lot of money. You can provide so much value to a company and, market yourself so well to be able to work with them consistently.
Like what? What could we offer to companies or like people like you?
Yeah, so it's that you guys have a lot to offer, but it's that you guys don't, I'm not saying like you, but like cosplayers don't know what they can actually offer. But it's just like to build a sense of community with a brand, right?
True.
Because let's just say as a business owner, I can only do so much. But when I have the same 5 models or cosplayers go to my event, it's building like a community with all of them and their fan base. And then every time they go to my customers go to my party, they're expecting all these same cosplayers to meet them and all of that.
So the whole idea of familiarity, right? It's like that's what you're like building on. It's just like these 5, 6 cosplayers is associated with Senpai Squad. So if like I'm a big fan of those 6 cosplayers, if I'm gonna go to a Senpai Squad event, I expect them to show. That's actually a good thing because it's like you're now making kind of like an association with the cosplayers.
Brands and companies will pay money for that type of loyalty.
And the one thing
go ahead.
The one thing I noticed is a lot of like companies or brands, they'll hire like an influencer or cosplayer, then they'll never use them again. And I believe that that's a huge waste unless it's like it doesn't work out. But like if you feel like it's gonna work out, keep using them because it will then build that like rapport of like them and then like
because in the end it's like, for example, if Annje and Kim starts working, when you think about Annjelife, you think about Senpai Squad, and when you think about Senpai Squad, you think about Annjelife.
True.
So that's good.
Building that network together.
I would say from the industry side, like I personally know of companies that pay like 6-figure incomes to people, like 1 or 2, to like research this shit. Like there are actually people that are like companies and brands are investing now more than ever, looking into. So like I'm sure you guys have heard of like community managers, or like right. Their main purpose is to find like those types of influencers because they want to like build that bridge. And I think the best example of that would probably be like Twitch. Twitch is like account managers. I feel like at least the ones that I know do a pretty bang up job cultivating and building their relationships with their streamers, I think. Again, just based on what I've heard from certain account managers. But they definitely want to like they'll spend the money to build a community any way, shape, or form. So if cosplayers can literally figure out a way to present that, right? In a way where like it makes sense to dudes in suits, you know, because literally they're again, like Marvin's saying, all they care about is ROI and like bottom line. Right. So if you can communicate in a way where, again, this is where Marvin's sales tactics come into play.
I know he's like a genius.
Literally, like I feel like if the right minds were like in a room together, or like spend like a weekend together trying to figure out or formulate like a way for the entirety of cosplay to standardize, it could definitely do a lot. So
I actually want to go back. You know, you asked the question and it's like, oh, what can cosplayer give to companies, right? And I actually want to know, it's like, you're a cosplayer, right? And you're like a professional and like you're kind of, you know how to market yourself. And it's like, I feel like, let's just say that if you're going to reach out to a company, right? Like, how would you go on? Right? Like,
why do we work together?
Like, how would you present yourself?
This is your opportunity.
Like, what would be like your cover letter? You know, like, I'm actually interested in that. It's like, because, you know, sometimes it's like, you don't know what you want until someone tells you what you want, right? So just like, yay, like, you know, as a cosplayer, I'm just like, what can you tell me that will be beneficial to me as
for like
a company.
the business. Yeah.
Right. And that's actually something I've been contemplating a lot. Like, what value do I, as like a cosplayer influencer, bring to the table?
Yeah.
And Devin Nash actually spoke about this a little
Shout
bit.
out Devin Nash.
Yeah, he's one of the founders for CLG, and now he talks about how to become a Twitch influencer. But I kind of applied that to our industry, and he talks about the 3 pillars of like success and value.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what I can bring to the table. And one of them you mentioned was community, right? Like the concept of 1,000 true fans, right? You need to have 1,000 people who will always get that merch or always get that thing you're selling, right? The second one I feel like it can bring to you is narrative. And what that is like your brand, like what is your purpose, or like what are you selling, you know? For someone like me, I feel like I sell positivity. So I feel like
that.
Right?
Positivity.
We need more some of that for 2020.
As long as it's not COVID.
Kind of got a shortage this year.
Take all my money. Give
deficit.
it all positivity.
Exactly, which is why I feel like that's why people tune in. I feel like that's why they watch me on Twitch, why they like my costumes, because it's always like this positive vibe, and then they get some
You're
of
just
that.
a radiant of energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like I could sell you my narrative in that way. And then it's kind of been self-improvement a little bit lately, so kind of selling that as well.
Nice.
And then I think the last one is, was it community, narrative, and consistency?
There you
Consistency.
go. C word.
Favorite word.
She said the word of the day.
Big C.
I love how we do shots whenever.
Really?
We did it yesterday.
That's so funny, because I was telling Marvin, Yaya Han recently wrote a book about cosplay, and literally her tip at the very end of her book was like, stay consistent. And I was like, Marvin. I feel like I can bring that to a company. Like, I will always bring A game every time they need it, like every day. You know?
I agree. Because sometimes I'll hire somebody, they do good, and bring them back, and then it loses that like what they brought to the table in the beginning.
They get
and I'm like,
comfortable
I need them to always be on their foot, innovative, and like sometimes I'm too busy to handle like the other stuff, so I want them to be able to come up with new ideas and take it. You know, that's why I'm paying you. I'm paying you to take some of the workload from me. So be consistent and not so I don't worry about it.
Interesting.
Like in the end, it's kind of crazy because you end up like micromanaging them, and then they can just be more work for you. And that's not good.
Right.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because that was kind of what Caesars came to us about last year, which was we have this space, solve this problem, right? And essentially, like, I guess to simplify it, like if you can solve that company's X problem, like they'll call you back, you know, or that's the value that you provide to them. So for cosplayers to think like, and this is kind of like one of the basics thing. Like if I were to write like a gospel of like business development for like cosplayers, I would say if you can break down or identify, right, even before you hit up a company, even before you hit up a brand or a potential sponsor, if you can identify just as a normal person what that company is missing marketing wise, and come up and formulate that plan for them, and just straight up hit them up like, hey, I have a proposition. And mind you, there are people in marketing and marketing departments fucking waiting for this call. I promise you. They're fucking, dude. Okay, especially right now. I promise you. Like marketing heads in so many different companies right now are pulling their hair out because they don't have a solution to the new normal. Right. A lot of them, they're trying to like fucking scramble, dude.
Well, you know what's crazy, right? Just like, it's crazy that you say that, because like 2 months ago, everybody think that, Zoom calls or like online events are like the new future, right? Like we're going to get so much money. And then there's like, no, it's not the same experience.
True.
You know?
Very
so
true.
like now there's still like when you say that, I'm like, it's true. Like people are still trying to scour, like, how do we make this as profitable as possible? Make as fun as possible, like, and make it like kind of as closest to the like on our real life experience.
Absolutely.
And like no one has been able to figure it out yet.
So in essence, when the opportunity that cosplayers have is because, again, prior to the last like 5 to 10 years, you'd only really see cosplayers at events, but now they've become personalities and they've become like entertainers, so to speak, right? That there definitely is a need in the marketplace. I just have to think to myself, like, what the fuck? Okay, if I were a cosplayer, then I cosplay in my life. Wouldn't dare call myself a cosplayer, but if I was a cosplayer, what conversation or who would I need to have a conversation with in order to like sell my industry to, right? Like what types of questions or what types of things do I need to bring up as a professional in my industry to help my industry grow, right? And this is kind of something that Gutex and I talk about, which is why we like putting on the events that we do. Because it cultivates not just the OGs, it cultivates all the new players. And in order to create sustainability for our industry, you need to be like really tending and nurturing the new generation of people that are going to fucking pay for your game or come to your event, right? That's again very similar to Senpai Squad's philosophy, where he reinvests back into like the parties and the events.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because those are your loyal customers. That's your community. So I feel like if just again some way cosplayers can combine, right,
yeah,
and have that talk where we're like, dude, like, you know, what's good for one of us is good for all of us.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's just a united front,
right,
and saying, hey, we as some whatever org, right, present to you X companies, right, these types of services, and to be able to reach this amount of eyeballs, right? I feel like that would be at least a decent start.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is that Annje's been doing that for companies, right? CLG and all that. CLG, Zero Lab, right?
Lab Zero.
Oh, sorry, Lab Zero. Is that what were like the steps that you took that way? In a sense that like, what made them hire you?
Yeah.
Like I feel like, you know, like we're talking about like, hey, we're gonna present myself to the companies, right?
Yeah.
And you've been hired by those companies.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is it that you've done?
I feel like I got really lucky.
Ooh.
That was the thing. Like I didn't have to pitch myself or anything. Yeah, I didn't have to like sell myself because I just had like that one person that got me in.
Oh,
right. Because with Lab Zero, I had Maguma, he's just really tight with the Lab Zero community, and he got us in. And then with CLG, I was close to Void, so I was able to get in that way.
Yeah.
So I've never had to like cold pitch myself
to
anything.
Right, but even then, it's like I'm not just gonna go ahead and like hire James to do photography because it's like he doesn't have any like experience in photos, right?
It's all right, young James.
Yeah. But in my head, I'm just like, you should have like
at least an idea.
An idea of just like, what did you do to make yourself valuable to the point where like that friend of yours was confident enough to hire you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, even then, they're not, if you're just a regular person, they're not going to hire you.
True.
They obviously see something in you. And what do you think that is?
Yeah.
Right?
True.
I know you mentioned about like the 3 pillars.
Yeah.
But I feel like,
is there an X factor that you have? Just out of curiosity.
I've been told I have like the it factor, but I've never been able to define what that is.
Interesting.
Like, but I've been told that many times.
What's the closest guess based on how well you know yourself?
I think that people just recognize how passionate I am about like that certain thing. So like Lab Zero, I was obsessed with like, you know, Skullgirls and Indivisible. So when they needed someone, they thought, Annje, it's free, you know, like that's such an easy thing. And then with CLG, they knew how obsessed I was with like Smash and stuff. So they're like, she cosplays too. So yeah, they needed someone for that. So I think like if you're trying to show your value to someone, like really express and become that person that everyone thinks of, like when they think of that one relevant thing.
True.
You know what I mean?
I feel like it goes more than that. Like
Really?
I feel like knowing you for such a long time, it's like, you know, when you were saying you have the it factor, I feel like that it factor is like how you engage with people. You have a very, very specific, or you have a very unique way on how like making people feel good about their passion.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I understand.
That's
like,
good.
You know how when you're like, oh, you
That's
know, you're
good. I'll
very
write that
passionate.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people are passionate, right? But some people could be like really off-putting. Like I could be like talk about business, and sometimes you just want me to shut the fuck up. Like Marvin, shut up. You know? But like, you know, but you have a very unique way of like talking about your passion, and like you get people hyped up.
That's true.
About that passion. I feel like you're it, like you are an it factor because you can go ahead and like certain topics that people know nothing about, they'd be like interested in it because how interested you are in it.
Absolutely.
That's such a good
That's
way
a good
of
energy.
delivering,
Yeah.
like
For sure.
your passion. You inspire people and you make people feel good and like not kind of like shame, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I mean, like in my head, that's working with you for so long. That's just the one thing that I've seen from you.
Oh, he articulated that so well.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I think it's more than just passion. Yeah, you have a really good way of engaging.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
So
I think it's just like also when you guys met each other, like you were talking about Smash so much.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
True. Very true.
Engaged
So
really
That's
well.
true. Yeah, that would work for me. If I was like, if I was Smash Bros. The company, I'd be like, all right,
Because
Exactly.
yeah, that's how you remembered her by.
True.
You were
There
just
we
like,
go.
oh, she
Very
came
true.
up to me and talked to me about Smash. I was just like, yeah, there you go. It's like I feel like that's the
Interesting.
perfect example.
yeah.
Yeah.
She and I the other night she and I were talking about like how to do that more, because again, kind of seeing how she's been able to create the opportunities currently. I was pretty much the conversation was, Anthony, how do I get more sponsors?
Yes.
Right, and I was like, first of all, do you want sponsors? Because like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like, hey guys, sponsors, hit this girl up. Holy shit.
because on the flip side to that, I guess being devil's advocate to it, right? Because there's sometimes certain sponsors come with certain obligations. And so you as a brand or your own company, or just as again, to be able to shift the narrative for cosplayers to start seeing themselves that way, I think is a start. Because if they can identify themselves as a business entity, they'll be able to have these engaging conversations with business people, I feel like. So if you can offer these brands a way for you to, if you can offer these brands a way to identify you as so-called expert in what field. Okay, so let's say, for instance, I go to Young James. Hello, Young James. How are you?
Yeah.
Young James. I'm a peanut company, right? I'm this peanut company, and you're the best peanut picker, harvester in the world.
Yeah.
Right? But all your life at being the best peanut picker, right? You've only just been like, I just pick peanuts or whatever, right? Like this is all I do, right? In order for you to sell me as a company that's looking to harvest more peanuts, right? Like, how would you want to sell yourself? And I think what needs to first happen is that cultural, that shift in mindset where you can't just see yourself as a cosplayer. Like, if you identify yourself as somewhat of a business entity, I think businesses will start realizing like, oh, there's more professional cosplayers out there that are actually like taking this seriously. And I think that's what it is, because I've spoken to many companies that don't necessarily take like cosplayers seriously.
They don't.
Cosplayers don't take themselves seriously.
Yeah. And again, I feel like there needs, I guess, to like a small band-aid to the major problem, but like they really need to figure out like how to like kind of showcase themselves in that way. Because again, a lot of times, like, have you guys seen the memes of like the cosplayers like with the cigarettes and like the drinking and shit? Yeah, stuff like that. Like,
what does that entail? Like cleaning up your social media to be more professional, or like like
it's just like
speaking a certain way?
I think just establishing yourself, like just not as a hobbyist, but like if you establish yourself as knowledgeable in business, they would at least be comfortable with you handling situations in a professional way, so they don't want their image to be ruined by just somebody who they sponsored, right? They want to have at least that level of trust.
True.
Someone said this like the other day. I'm not sure who it was, but they said that if you treat your craft like a hobby, you will get paid like a hobbyist. But if you treat your craft like a career, you will get paid like as if it's an actual career.
True.
Right? On the flip side to that is that I've seen some posts online that says, oh, like, calm down, bro. Like, you got 100K followers, but you're a cosplayer. You ain't shit. Right? And in my head, I'm just like, at first I'm just like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm kind of like part of the problem too. Cause it's like, in my head, I'm like, I'm not a cosplayer. Like, I see cosplay for me, like when I cosplayed, I see it as a hobby. I never had like time to dedicate myself to be like, hey, like this is my craft and all that. But then I thought about it, like, what if someone said that to me? It's like, as a photographer, like, bro, like you have this amount of like followers, but you're just a photographer. You ain't shit, right? I would have felt this because I'm like, I would have felt hurt because it's like, dude, I put in so much time into this, right? This is like a passion. This is a career. Like, this is how I make a living, right? And it's like, when I made that kind of distinction, like, that's when it hit me more. That like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, so long if you treat it correctly and like with respect, you like, people will also treat it with respect, right?
If you respect yourself and your craft and what you do, then they would also respect you.
So yeah, it's like, I feel like a lot of like people definitely need to get out of this like mindset where it's like cosplay can be a career, right? And it's like we're going this like new time and age where everything can be marketed and everything can be profited off, right?
Absolutely.
If you take it enough, like if you take enough like effort and like time and energy and like focus your mindset to it, you know, you'll be good at it and people can go ahead and like pay you for it, right? And that's like, it's true. It's like everyone's been doing that. You know, you have certainly like, you know, riot people paying cosplayers to just like represent them, right?
Yeah.
But there has to be like a big shift in like the world to be like, guys, like this is like people make money off of this. You know, like we can bring an entire community because of these cosplayers.
Very true. Right? Very true. I have a question for Miss Annje.
Oh, yes, Mr. Anthony.
Okay, my question for Miss Annje. Hi, I'm Anthony from Las Vegas. Hi,
wow.
Yeah,
my question,
number 12.
My question for you this evening is, okay, so going back into like, because I'm trying to think of it in a marketer's perspective, right? Let's paint the picture. Okay, in 5 to 10 years time, okay, where we are currently has been achieved in the last decade, right?
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like people making money online, freaking dressing up, doing makeup.
I still have to
crazy.
explain that to people.
Yeah.
Like they just, when you tell people what you do for a living, you probably say photographer. What do you say when people ask you what you do? Like think boomers. What do you say to them?
No, we were actually
fun.
Right? Yeah. I was actually like, we were talking about this like on the last episode with Zena, right?
Really?
So I went like going in depth to it. Like I have like an uncle who's like 71 years old, right?
Yeah.
And they was
You
asking
tell him.
like, I was like, hey, you know, like, yeah, I'm a photographer. I'm like, oh yeah, so you do portraits? You like,
You do weddings?
Yeah, you do weddings. I was like, I did weddings, but I quit it. It's like, it's not as crazy. It's pretty crazy, hectic, right? But
Okay.
I was like, so what kind of photograph do you do? I'm like, well, I have like X amount of model who like I shoot every month with, and then, you know, they make a living out of that. And in turn, like they hire me on a monthly basis. And they're like, what do you mean? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Like,
well, I'm
what?
like in my head, I was just like, well,
Right?
yeah. So it's like they don't get it. It's just like such a new thing.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the thing before is like, in order for you to get paid, right, you have to like consistently search client, like different clients each time. Like the only thing that would be like kind of a viable thing is that if you're like a holiday photographer.
Yeah.
So like every holiday, it's the same family that goes to you. I should have explained it that way. Like think about you're a photographer, right? But then the same family goes to you every holiday.
Yeah.
So like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, whatever, Labor's Day, right? Every holiday, they come back to you. It's basically the same idea, but there's no holidays. It's just a monthly basis, right? Because they just need it, right?
Yeah. That's true.
But the idea is that, you know, how do these models make money? Right? I'm just like, I was like in my head, I'm just like, well, you know, these.
There's
like,
this website, and then
it's weird, right? Because it's like when I explained to them the idea of prints, like, look, like these models would go get prints, and then they would sell these prints, and then they would make money off those prints. And one thing that they don't understand is like, people pay for prints.
Oh my
I'm just like.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like in my head, the way I explained that, I'm just like, have you ever gone to like a convention and be like, you know, have your print signed? It's a big deal, right?
Yes.
It's the exact same thing. These models are like their own personalities.
Yeah.
And like, I had to like, it was a 3-hour conversation.
Oh my
right? And I didn't
God.
even realize that it was 3-hour conversation.
Oh
I left my
my.
car, emergency lights on. And it was so
It was in the car when you had this
no, like
You just
so-
ran down.
Yeah, so I just ran down, say hi to him, but then I didn't realize that it was a 3-hour conversation, and
Oh
then my
my
car
God.
ran out of battery. That's how long it was. Right?
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I thought it was just gonna be a quick explanation, right? Like this is such a simple concept. Like,
Right.
you should be able to get it. But no, it was like a 3-hour conversation to the point where it's like
Oh
my
my.
car started.
Oh
My
my.
car died. Yeah. So it's like that. It's like that's the struggle.
Yeah. My family didn't get it until they saw Void doing it. And then they were just like, okay, so she just does what Void does, but with costumes. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was the
Yeah.
same. Like he didn't believe. Like I told him I just film cosplay, like costumes as a hobby. And then he was like, can you make this a living and all of that?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like after going into my brand, right, I was like, I found it difficult to explain to people what it was because it was so many different things,
Right.
you know. So I just simplified it as I sell stickers, t-shirts, and stuff, and I throw parties.
Right.
And I did that for quite a while, but I was like, that sounds so lame. And then like for like in maybe 2 or 3 years after, I managed to be able to explain it in a more cooler way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I have a lifestyle brand
Ooh.
that basically brings a bunch of cultures together, you know, in all these different scenes.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
But even like I'm happy you got to explain that in your like in a kind of like cool way. Even now for me, like I don't know what like I'm a photographer,
But you're not
but
just that.
I still don't know what I am. Like in my head, it's not just like photography because there's so much more, right?
Sure.
But like in the end, it's like, what kind of photographer am I, right? And like it can't just be like a portrait photographer. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. It's like
You're one of a
just
kind.
I just take photos of people. Like it doesn't make sense, right? It's like how in the end it always goes back to the idea of like who are you photographing for you to be making money, like like stable income, you know? And so that's why I have to explain down to the detail who I'm photographing in order to explain to people my source of income. Right? Because in the end, like you can't just like I can't just photograph like James and be like, oh, why the fuck do James pay you every month? Right? Like what does James do with his photos? You know?
Exactly.
So just like they understand the concept of like holiday because that's memories, right?
Yeah.
But they can't wrap the idea of just having photos of yourself be profitable.
Right.
That's essentially it. So I'm just like, I feel like in order for me to explain myself, I need to explain what people like this new thing the models are doing online, and you know, there's a revolution going on. That's why it's like it goes back to like you. It's like I kind of like I've explained your job and like my model's job to like the older generations. Like, how do you explain your job to the older ones?
Well,
the boomers.
It's interesting because I used to say like influencer, but then people either think that's very pretentious sounding or they don't really know what that is.
Right.
Wow.
So
also like the word influencer has gotten a lot of like bad rep lately, right?
Or it's just like, oh, she's an influencer, you know, like, oh, she thinks she has influence.
Yeah, just like influencer freeloaders.
Yeah, exactly. So I stopped saying that and I started saying model, but then people stopped believing that because I'm not like runway model.
They were like, which agency?
Which fashion show?
Right. So now you're kind of stuck like where you are.
Like I'm short with flaws and they're just like, you're a model? Like really? Yeah. So I started saying like, you know, YouTube, it's like that but live. So I just started saying like Twitch streamer and selling that idea.
Okay.
But what about personality?
Yeah, like I had that big switch with Miso Toki, right? I'm just like, I don't want her to be known as a cosplay. I want her to be known as like a personality because that's what she is. So she's a personality. Have you ever like considered using personality?
Like, but then do people often ask, how do you make money being a personality? Then that's a whole explanation, right? So I'm trying to avoid that explanation part.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to like keep it.
What's the perception of like a personality? When I think like Conan O'Brien. Or like, you know what I mean?
Same.
Yeah.
So what in your experience, have you said that? What do people respond with?
Yeah. So there was one time I'm just like, when I was explaining to someone, I was like, oh, she's not an influencer, right? She's like, because we wanted to stray away from influencer.
Yeah.
At the same time, we wanted to stray away from the model, right? Because it's like the whole idea of having to explain like she's not actually part of like agency, right? She just posts in front of camera. She's modeling for clothing brands, whatever, for herself, bikinis, whatever. And in the end, I'm just like personality, right? In the end, I'm just like, it's so much easier to explain. I'm just like, well, if someone's a personality and you just want to support them, you buy whatever they're selling.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So it's like, if someone is a personality, right? It's like in the end, you get their merch and then that's hey, this is like Conan O'Brien's merch, like Conan O'Brien's mug.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And then it's like, you don't have to explain anything because like you feel compelled to like buy the product just because you like them.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier. I'm just like, oh, like a personality. Oh, what do they do? No, they're just people with high following, and then they're just personalities, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll say that next time.
So
Right,
it's like,
people will buy into like whatever they do. If they try and start an event or sell something or start a new business, it's like it doesn't matter. It's just the audience will buy into anything.
Kim himself is a personality, right?
Yeah,
everybody
that's
knows
true.
Kim Senpai Squad,
right?
Yeah. So like merch, like he puts out merch. I'm just like, oh, this is Senpai Squad merch, which is Kim Senpai Squad, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And like that itself, it's like it's really good. And then there's a lot of like people who've done business, like photographers who became personalities because they started showing, like putting themselves more out there, right? And the only reason like people don't know their work, but then they're like, oh, I see that guy talk about photography and like he's pretty big in photography.
Mhm.
I don't know his work, but I want to hire him because he's very kind of like well known in the community, right?
Yeah.
Just because he's a personality, people are more willing to support you because you're well known. You're a personality.
Yeah.
People just care a little bit more if you're well known, right?
Do you
Like
think-
Kardashians.
Oh yeah, the Kardashians are like personalities, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter what they sell.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
That's
what they
true.
sell. It's just like in the end, like they could go in like their fashion line. They could go into makeup. Like you can do a cooking show. It doesn't matter because it's like their personalities. People are just willing to like tune into them, not for their product, but
Just
for
who they
themselves, like just who they are.
Yeah.
And that's what a personality is, right? Yeah, you just
There
like
you go.
you go to a podcast. You don't tune in because they talk about interesting stuff. You tune in because that's just you like them as people.
I want to see
Yeah.
Kim passed out on the floor drunk.
Yeah.
That's why I
So,
tuned in.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. No.
So I feel like having the idea, when I was explaining it to my uncle, right?
Mm.
Like the way I was explaining your job is like, oh, they're just personalities. And I'm like, people like support them through whatever ventures that they want to do,
Mhm.
right? And that's how they make money. And then they still don't get it. But in my head, I'm just like, yo, like think about your favorite talk show host, right? Right?
Yeah.
Like what does the talk show host give you? Nothing really, right? But you just tune in because you like their personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
just
true.
they're like you like how they deliver lines. Yeah. You like how they deliver kind of like the news, right?
Yeah.
But these are the same news that you can get from somewhere else. But you're not exactly following the news, you're following them because how they present things to you.
Yeah.
So that's how my mindset was in terms of like explaining your job towards people who don't get it. Yeah.
You know what's
But, yeah.
interesting? Corporations like C-level, like CEO, CFO type shit,
Mm-hmm.
like they ask those same exact questions.
Mm.
They don't fucking know. They have heard from a friend of an employee, or they have heard from an employee's friends of a friend's daughter's cousin that they cosplay. And I shit you not, I have been in rooms with C-level like freaking executives saying, okay, because on the esports side, they're like, okay, explain to me esports. Like as if it's like a 2-second thing, motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and we talked about this about the podcast, or like if we could think of like the elevator pitch for like the podcast, and I think in general, if cosplayers can figure out a way to like have that elevator pitch, I think that would be like the best way to present it. But think talking to like a boomer, essentially. That's how it is. But just to put it in perspective, I didn't know if you guys knew that about like corporate heads and stuff.
No, I didn't.
no.
But they just have no idea about these topics, I guess.
No, not at all. I mean, again, if they're not involved, if they're non-endemic brands, meaning not involved in our industry, like if it's like a I don't know, like Kodak or Polaroid or whatever, I promise if you go to the CEO of Polaroid right now, like I'd be like, bro, you want to come to this cosplay meetup? Like we're chilling. He'd be like,
what the fuck is that?
yeah, y'all want to like jump me? Like what y'all trying to do, right? Y'all meeting up? Like what we doing? Right? Like he won't know what the hell like it is. So it's so interesting.
Well, yeah, no, I still want to go back. Like, all right, so like for you, you like you said, oh, you're like a Twitch streamer, kind of that. Like, were you able to find like a proper way of like introducing your job to people who don't know?
I feel like everyone knows what YouTube is.
Okay.
So I just be like, oh, it's like YouTuber, but instead of it being pre-recorded, it's live.
Okay.
So it's like you kind of have like your channel, like it's the new TV.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people, but that really is only like a third of what I do.
Right.
Like Twitch streaming, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the only way I can explain it. Yeah,
interesting.
When I start talking about costuming and stuff, I just go like, do you know what Comic-Con is? And they're just like, boomer, no.
Like, what? You mean like Star Trek?
No, they don't even know what that is. So like, how do I do this? So then I always go back to like Disneyland. Yeah, I'm just like, you know the Disney princesses? Okay, we're like that, but for every character, not just Disney.
For every character.
Yeah, but not just Disney. And then they're like, okay, how does that work during COVID? And I'm just like, I don't know, explain this.
It's like you know, like when you go to a party and then they hire like a Peter Pan or a Tooth Fairy. Yeah, I'm like that.
I used to do that before I did like cosplaying professionally. I used to work for this company. It was like a charity company called Princesses with a Purpose. And I was like, they had a character for like from every movie, and I played Lilo from Lilo and Stitch.
That's adorable.
So we would go to birthday parties, hospital visits, and
That's
stuff.
sick.
Yeah, and I would like be Liloing characters.
Do you have pictures?
I do. It's like on my Facebook. It's really old.
Can you share those?
Yeah, and we had to
So
like
you were
audition
like
for it. And
literally
stuff.
like a cosplayer in the making, dude.
I
Pretty
guess
much.
so.
Crazy.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
Dude, that's fucking perfect.
Yeah. So, all right. I definitely want to be cognizant of your time. Obviously,
thank you.
spent a good amount of time with us, indulging in our questions.
It was fun.
Yeah.
This is so fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much. Like this is kind of opening up Pandora's box because I feel like I already have like 10 questions like that I want to follow up on. But before I like get into that and start closing us out, did you have fun and would you come back?
Of course.
Yeah.
Is that even a question?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, so it's and I'm so happy that maybe it was the boba. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tuna, you saved us.
Yeah.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
It's because the boba.
Yeah. So, all right. I guess as we close out, is there anything that you're currently working on that you want to shout out, or anything that you want to plug by chance?
Yeah, we're actually starting to get more consistent with my YouTube channel. Thanks to Young James.
Yeah.
Young James.
It's something I'm really passionate about lately because I
Nice.
do want to start like kind of expanding on different topics outside of cosplay,
Ooh.
like especially in terms of like skincare. I'm really passionate about
Nice.
that. That's
Nice.
been blowing up a lot lately.
That's
like
great.
my acne journey and stuff.
Yeah.
As well as like mental health because we've been all going through trying times right now.
Absolutely.
So like Marvin and I always have these talks. So I feel like we should have a place where we can like watch what we talk about.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So I feel like if you want to follow a new YouTube channel,
Hey.
follow me, Annjelife
there
on
you
everything.
All right, cool. Where can people follow you if they want to follow your journey or anything like that?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I'm Annjelife on all of my platforms: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. And so Annjelife on all of those things. That'd be so cool.
Then you know, like all of you guys are like one word, like all
Everything.
It wasn't always that.
Yeah.
Let me tell
but
you.
like for me, I'm just like I'm Square Noodles except Instagram because there's like Square_Noodles because there's the guy who created Square Noodles and it's not even an active account.
Wow.
I'm just like, I just want to report it and be like, yo, delete this account and let me have it. You're like,
I had the same thing with Senpai Squad.
Really?
Which is
Oh my
why I'm
God.
Senpai Squad Net now.
So I started. I was just like, I need to find a way to just make it Square Noodles all across the board.
Yeah.
But like that _dash is like, I feel like, dang, that's what I started. Like, I'm just gonna keep that.
Yeah, bro. If you out there with Square Noodles or Senpai Squad,
for
we're
you.
coming for you, son.
Oh my God,
We're
like,
coming for you. Better watch out.
But
Nice.
It didn't used to always be that. Mine was like all scrambled up and stuff. And then one day I was like, I should make these all the same.
Yeah.
And then that's when I changed my name on everything.
Annjelife.
And so, yeah, it used to be a really confusing word that no one could spell. So
Ooh.
yeah,
Which
my
is?
old like brand name. When I first started cosplaying, my name was Eloquium, which is like a
whoa,
Latin
that's-
word
yeah.
for language. Because I was like, this is how I express I like this thing.
That's
It was
legit.
so
edgy, so
Yeah, it was so fucking
Yeah.
deep. And I was like, no one can spell this. No one knows what this
Yeah.
means. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna change it to like Annjelife.
Yeah.
My name
Hey.
with life at the end because
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do cosplay forever.
Exactly.
This
it's
is
at
your life.
Yeah, it's just everything in my life in
Angela's life,
cases.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Damn,
that's
that's
good.
pretty legit,
Yeah.
man. All right. Well, talking about social media, obviously, you can follow all of us on our stuff. We got Marvin Square Noodles at everything, Senpai Squad at everything, Jay Square Noodles. I really want you to change your name to Young James. Can we do that?
J-Nudes, dude. J-Nudes. It's so catchy, J-Nudes.
I know, dude.
Another addition to the noodle family.
And of course, Anthony Orque, Soju Bomb on everything across the board. Any closing statements, any parting words of advice for our audience out there, our young hustlers out there?
Well, first I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. This has been super awesome. I think what you guys are doing is like extremely wholesome, and this felt more like an industry talk than anything, which I feel like not enough people talk about. Like I'm always looking for content like this, so
of course,
definitely.
Let's try to put some more industry content out there.
But I actually just want to add to that because it's like it's crazy. Like the past 3 podcasts that we did, each one is like completely different from another.
Really?
So Mizzy's was like all out like party.
That was definitely crackhead
and then
for sure.
Xena's was like super chill and like more like down to earth.
That was like, storytelling,
right?
It was storytelling.
Yours is like super industry, like. For sure, like next time when like the mood is right, would love to like go deeper with your like again philosophies in life.
Like
perhaps
definitely
you can give advice on like people like starting up and like more like kind of like more toward like from the heart.
Yeah, I would love stuff like that.
Definitely.
So like it's just weird. Like I'm happy like this podcast.
This is good.
Like there's no like cookie cutter thing.
No way. That's what's up.
I just want to point that out.
And for anyone that's just straight up listening, our audience is nodding their heads too. They've heard the last 3 episodes, so they know.
It's so interesting that each of your podcasts have a different mood because I feel like Mizzy is the hype girl and Xena is the chill one, and then like I feel like Marvin and I always talk about business. Like we're very goal oriented, so I feel like it's just our personality.
No, that's great.
It really shines.
I love it. Again, like you said, there needs to be more of this stuff.
Yeah.
People out there are wondering. So,
Someone gave me the advice recently to like make the content that you wish you had. Like when you were first starting, what do you wish you like found on the internet? And so like now that we have that knowledge, we should like put that out
this
there.
This is exactly what this podcast is.
That's exactly right. You wish you like had this info?
Pretty much. No, we talked about it in the very beginning. We're like, like we're trying to make the shit that we wanted to learn back when we were younger.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like I did photography and there was like no one to guide me. Like I didn't have any mentor. And so it's just like, I wanted to be this podcast to be that, like, if people are tuning in, like hoping like they could pick up stuff from us that they can go and like take to them, like, all throughout their life.
True.
It's like little knowledge and philosophies. Right. So like, I know we would always talk about that. I'm just like, and it's like for you too, you would go ahead and like
Kim didn't have any mentors. I didn't have any mentors. In this too,
none of us have any mentors. And so,
we want to be able to use this platform to give everyone else what we didn't have before.
Nice.
Exactly.
I'm like, Kim said that. Like, that's cool.
If this were to give anyone like the confidence to start their own business or start their own passion pursuit, like,
that's what I'm talking about, baby.
That's like the goal.
It's pretty much the goal, and we're definitely very much looking forward to like people reaching out to us about that stuff, because we've gotten a couple comments and like feedback from like people that have listened that said they're like, that was actually like pretty legit. You guys give some good information. And we hope to do so more with all of our guests. They offer so many different perspectives.
That's true,
not just ours. So I think is that everything?
I think that's everything.
All right, let's close this out. Well, thank you everybody for watching, listening, wherever you are in the world. Yo, by the way, all of our I gotta pull up our Anchor because like we got more people from different parts of the world. I'm serious, it's freaking nuts.
People are listening from across the world.
Really?
Dude, so on I've been looking up our analytics. And dude, we got people in the Netherlands. Shout out folks in the Netherlands, baby. Shout out to cats in Ireland. Dang. We got cats in Thailand. We got cats in Germany and Singapore.
Damn.
So I'm just like, word, So shout out to everybody listening out there.
We're reaching.
Baby. We're infecting the world. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We will see you guys next time. Take care. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Clap us up.
What?
Count us down.
Count us down, baby.
3, 2, 1.
I'm
just saying it.
3, 2, 1, clap, bitch.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, clap, bitch.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what's up.
Xena didn't say bitch.
I hesitated.
It's tradition. It's tradition.